You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, the federal government and organized labor might be set for a showdown as the ultimatum given to government by labor for the implementation of the new minimum wage expires today.
And the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria says any delay beyond August the 14th for the implementation of the 30,000 naira minimum wage will leave labor with no choice than industrial action.
Meantime, the federal government has attributed the delay in the implementation of the consequential adjustment of the 30,000 naira new minimum wage to the unrealistic demands of labor unions. Government says the current demand of the labor unions would raise the total wage bill too high. And the debate goes on and on. Joining me now is the Executive Secretary, Human Capital Providers Association of Nigeria, Solomon Adeboshing. Solomon, it's good to have you join me right now.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Now, what do you make of this, back and forth, it is your fault, no, it is not my fault, it is yours, it's not mine, between labor and government when it comes to the agreement on the consequential adjustment? Because that's where that's the bone of contention right now.
I think it's just because we've not really learned anything in this country. We keep doing things the same way and expect to have different results. While this discussion started, when it commenced, both parties are experienced. And these are things that they've been discussing over for some years. So I expected that while this discussion, when it commenced, they will have put into consideration all these issues to make it clear that, look, there's going to be some consequential adjustments. What are we going to do about that? It was, you must also consider the fact that the government has the challenge of the ability to pay. So if you want to say, okay, if we are giving 30,000 naira minimum wage to those in the lower cadre, if the same percentage increase is applied to everybody, will government be well without to be able to pay this? That's where the challenge comes from. And I'm sure Labour also understands this. That's why Labour is also saying, okay, let us reduce the percentage, let us come down to something that we feel you should be able to afford. But of course, I'm the one that has the pocket. I'm the one that can be able to say, oh, this is what I can afford. So I want to believe that they still have a lot to discuss. And the more they delay, well, from the last discussion that what the President said, there was going to be backdating of the implementation. Yes. So maybe because of that, that's why Labour too has not been that forceful about it.
All right, but what scenarios do you see going forward? The organized Labour gave government until 14th of August, which is today. What scenarios do you see playing going forward?
Well, for that ultimatum given, because I tried to find out, and I wasn't too sure, because I think it was one of the state councils that mentioned that. So until when it comes from the national, body, that's when you can say that, okay, this is a serious threat. Of course, what the state council said might have been an inkling of what is coming up. But if you issue an ultimatum and say, oh, by today, that would also mean that a lot of things must have been put in place. And I don't see anything like that on the ground. The fact is that once we have this understanding that a minimum wage being a law should be something that both parties should try to say, going forward, let us put some yardsticks on ground that we are going to follow, that automatically will be able to increase these wages when the time comes. It's supposed to be for 5 years. So in 5 years' time, these are the things we'll have considered. And by the time you just put in those factors, you can be able to say, this is what's going to be the next one.
But can they have a fixed template to say, okay, this is what we will be following going forward? And if we come to the level where, since it's 5 years, when we get to that 5 years, we can follow the template. Can there be a fixed template for this?
That's what I will encourage them to have. Because at the end of the day, it will be, in 5 years' time, the players there now won't be the ones there. Definitely. So, but if there's a template on ground, it's anybody who comes can see something to follow, and then they can be able to follow it.
Yeah, but that's the challenge, really, because like you say, the realities now may not be the realities in the next 5 years.
Yes.
But if they have a template for now, will that template fit into the next 5 years? Especially when it has to do with this consequential change or consequential adjustment is going to come up again and again and again, because anytime you increase monies,
yes,
those are the top who will want something.
Expect
exactly.
That template will take care of the things that will really affect wages, inflation, cost of living and all those. So by the time you put all those ones together, it becomes easy for anybody who comes in to be able to put those factors in, and then it will work out.
So what do you foresee? Today is August the 14th. What do you foresee now?
I see a situation where Labour and government will still have to talk. They still have to have a conversation. Maybe now that at least, maybe the fact that a minister has not also been appointed might also make Labour to reconsider and wait. I think by next week, the president is supposed to swear in the new minister, so we'll get to know who is going to be in charge of that ministry. If it's going to be the same person, at least it just continue the process again. But if it's a new person, just allow the person to also be able to have an understanding of the situation on ground, and then they can continue discussion. I
know a trade union action is obviously in the works, but would you advise the Labour to take such a step? I
wouldn't, simply because at the end of the day, we still have to come back to have a discussion.
Table.
And because the government has also said that whatever the time for implementation will still be, it will be backdated. And so if it's going to be backdated, it means no matter the kind of delay that, that is caused by this misunderstanding, when they eventually get to sign a document or agree, the payment will be backdated. And so Labour is not going to be losing much, if you want to consider that, except you are talking of the time value of money. But in looking at it also, my own advice has been, this is something that we do every time, every 5 years, sometimes 6 years. And so if a format is put on ground that will be able to automatically address this issue, so that the minimum wage that is a law, which says every 5 years you have to increase it, put in the factors,
right.
Just put in the factors, and at the end of every 5 years, those factors just come into play, and then you know what's supposed to be the next thing to do.
We don't even have a template yet to work with at the point.
Exactly.
So who is delaying, really?
You see, it's when the commission started, it is part of what should have been put on the table, especially because those who went for the negotiation are experienced, so they know what they've been going through every year, then time they come there. So they will have put those things on ground, knowing fully well that a minimum wage increase or signing a minimum wage into law does not mean a general wage increase.
Absolutely.
It is just to ensure that in the country, the least somebody can earn is this amount. And once that one is put in place, then of course you may argue that, oh, you mean that if I've already been collected 30,000 naira before, then I should now not get an increase. Okay. And that is what they're now talking about.
So there are lots of reasons for this impasse. Now, the lowest cadre, we understand, will first earn the increment before it now spreads out to those on the senior ranks. But how will even this lingering controversies, address the concerns of those working in the private sector?
Well, in the private sector, based on my knowledge, wages are increased and nobody gets to know. It's not put in the public space.
Which is the way to go.
Which is the way to go. So it's not something that you come and be announcing. When you say it's a law, it's not something you come for negotiation. It's already a law.
Follow it.
So just do what's supposed to be done. You don't come every time, let us come and discuss, let's come and discuss. Once you put all these things in place, it makes it very, very easy to be able to, because like I mentioned, I said, those who are the actors right now, in 5 years' time, are likely not going to be the one to be there discussing. But if something that be put in place, it will make it easy for anybody who comes in to just follow, and then there'll be no noise about it.
There's also another committee now. We have the Ubume committee. We also have the Oyo Ita committee that is to negotiate consequential adjustments in the new salaries. That committee had 4 weeks to complete since it was inaugurated by the presidency. Why are we also having, this replication of delays there? After all, she's been in the system for so long.
Nigerians and committees, we always like to set up committees for everything, and then we set a committee to now review what that committee has done. But we know what to do. We know what to do. If we put in place the things that ought to be done, we will not have, it won't be in the news. It won't be in the news. You won't even know that. All you just hear is to say a minimum wage has been signed into law, and that's all. You won't even hear about the negotiation or the discussions, because if the template is followed, if they agree to put a template on ground and to follow that template, then there'll be no issue about this.
How genuine are these concerns about the implication of the new wage on the wage bill, for example? How legitimate are these concerns?
Surely, government has a legitimate concern about that.
But shouldn't they have been, foreseen?
Yeah, you see, I think from what the government is saying now, they are able to say, if you agree to this percentage that we are proposing, we can afford it. But if you want to go with what you are proposing, then we won't be able to afford it. And my concern really is, we are still talking about the federal workers now. Is it going to go back to the states? And we're still going to have this in each of these states. All the states are looking and watching. Whereas, for me, I expect that they should have been forward-thinking and proactive to say, can we start discussing our own? We already know that there's a 30,000 naira minimum wage. So that one is there. What the consumer increase we want to talk about now, let's start discussing it now in the states.
Right
so we won't have that issue. And they discuss it silently. By the time they finish with the federal government or whatever, they will just be implementing. We won't even hear
what
this
has already
but
been
we are still going
out.
to go back to these 36 states and still be talking about the same thing.
Executive Secretary in now Human Capital Providers Association of Nigeria, Solomon Adeboshini, thank you very much for your contributions.
Thank you for having me.